All right. Good evening, listenators, shitlords, and obvious woman haters that are also he-men. And welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and this is Brian's Badger Lodge, where you guys can call in to the show and tell us a story or ask a question, or basically just give us whatever your hot take is, and we'll give it we'll give it a listen and maybe talk about it depending on like what it is you have in mind. So please consider, and it's free, doesn't cost anything. All you got to do is go into the low bar. You will see a Discord link. Join it, and it'll take you into the Honey Badger Radio call-in Discord, and there you can go into the screening room where Darth Sonic 413, who is acting as my call screener, he will be able to make sure that your audio is working and get an idea of what it is you want to say on stream, just to make sure that we don't have anybody that comes on specifically to get us permanently banned. Not that that's not likely to happen to us at some point anyway, but maybe we wouldn't want them to expedite that. So anyway, so yeah, check out the link in the description. Think about what you'd like to say. Call in, and I'll talk to you live on the air, and we'll hear from what you guys think. So, all right. Before we get into the calls, I wanted to show you guys a video that I thought was kind of funny. So let's take a look at this. It's what are these videos? Like, are the reels on YouTube and the reels, or if they're even called reels, or the shorts? See, I don't know. So there's like, the YouTube has these shorts, which are inspired, I assume, by TikTok videos, and Facebook has them, and Instagram has them. But are they all the same? Because they look the same. But anyway, so and this is a person responding to, and it says TikTok on there. Like, see, this is so confusing. So let's take a listen to this because I thought this was kind of funny. Someone sent it to me. So let's take a look. I'm going to refresh this page.
I'm looking for a husband. Now,
Why the fuck?
Hear me out.
Okay.
For a straight man that would like to get married to another straight man.
No.
You can date any woman you want to. You can have many girls you want to. I don't care. I'll never bitch about it. I don't care. I just want a joint,
homie, that's
two-income household.
No.
Wait.
Honestly, I'll remodel the house. I'll make it have 2 master bedrooms. I don't care. And as far as I'm concerned,
Wait a second.
you can have the master bedroom now. I'll remodel the house and then take it when it's done, because we'll have 2 incomes. We can afford it.
Right.
A couple things would be nice. It'd be nice if you had a boat.
I
That'd be
don't have
cool.
a boat.
But if not,
Me neither.
here, we'll buy one.
Right.
You and I, buddy. You and I. We will buy one together. We'll have some nice shit. That's what we're going to do. Guess what? Holidays roll around. You don't have to buy me anything. Nothing.
Nothing?
Not for my birthday. Not for Valentine's, Christmas. Nothing. Let's just go have a couple beers.
Right.
Doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound really, really nice?
Yes, it does.
No bitching?
Yes, it does.
No complaining?
Holy shit.
I'm looking.
Oh, kind of funny. Essentially, like men. This guy is offering to have like a husband, but it's not. Obviously, it's not sexual. It's just so that he can have somebody whose income he can combine with, and it's nothing but advantages because you don't have to worry about what the woman might do. There's no woman. So it's just kind of like interesting. So I thought it was kind of funny because these men didn't want to do that at first, and then they realized, like, oh, there's a lot of advantages. So pretty funny. All right. Anyway, I also have some tweets that basically they're just like women posting their L's online. I think that this stuff is pretty funny as well. Here's I think that she's like some kind of e-thought named Amy Fantasy. I'm almost certain of it. And she says, I'm so burnt out from sex work and cosplay. I just don't feel fulfilled from it anymore, and it no longer brings me joy. I'm seriously considering quitting, especially because I just no longer make the amount of money that I used to before I gained a bunch of weight. Just, that is quite the L, lady. Quite the L. I had to share it. Okay. It's funny because I think that this is actually a growing problem with a lot of e-thots. And I think that the what's going on is that they're doing really well when they're young and their metabolism is high and everyone's giving them nothing but positive reinforcement and attention, and they're not realizing that they, just by their like habits, the way that they eat, maybe based on their activity level is not there very high or whatever, they are essentially like becoming fat, gross, and lazy, and the like being, I guess, sexual on OnlyFans is losing its luster. And in a way, I think that this is actually happening, like in general. I think that more and more men are less interested in e-thots. Like they're kind of, because I mean, it's just a suspicion. This is my gut, okay? But my gut tells me that it's at the stage where men are like turning away, and I think that it's like they see a woman with an OnlyFans account or whatever, and they know where that road leads. They know that like it's just going to cost them money. They know they're not going to get anything out of it, and I think that's what's happening is they're walking away. And these women, they don't understand it. So they don't even understand the fact that they're gaining weight, and that's actually killing their customer base too. Or if they acknowledge that it does, then they're blaming the men for it. Everybody say, "Oh, you guys are, body shaming or whatever." But I think that excuse me, sorry about that. I think that men in general are just like, they're not as interested, and I think that more and more men are doing their own thing, like without the influence of women. I think that movements like MGTOW, I guess if you call it a movement, uh, those things are starting to work. I think that they're having an effect, and I mean, like, it's way bigger now than it was. Like, I watched a bit of one of Karen's old, because I hadn't seen her videos in a while. Lindsay was like, "Let's watch Karen's old video." Okay, and she put on like one of Karen's like earliest. It's about the fewer men are getting married. Why is this happening? How deep? How far down does it go? And we were watching that, and I was like, man, I remember when these ideas were incredibly fringe, and I think that you will hear a lot more people, especially men, online saying stuff that Karen said like 10 years ago, and not and but you're hearing it a lot more now. I mean, like, not everybody speaks at the same level. Not everybody is speaking from the same sort of viewpoint where it's like, and the solution to this is, or they're expressing their views on women, marriage, relationships, family, whatever. Not everyone's on the exact same page there, but in terms of like identifying problem, Uh, I think that they're, like whether that is feminism in the cases where it is, or just more broadly, like female nature, which has been enabled to essentially like exploit, men and the state and feminism, etc., because we have allowed it, right? I think that that is something that is a lot more obvious now to most people. I think that more people are vocal about this, and I think that they're very frustrated. In fact, and I don't agree with this sentiment, but in fact, I've noticed that there's plenty of like commentators or YouTubers or whatever you want to call it that talk about feminism like it's dead, like we've defeated it in 2014. We obviously haven't. It's kind of like one of the core central themes of all of this wokeness. Like you need feminism, and otherwise nothing else works, right? It's like where it starts, because the first group you have to isolate or exclude is men, and then everything else gets excluded from that. So there's no way that things like critical race theory or even queer theory are going to be able to compete with feminism, because feminism is the mother of all of it, in my opinion. But a lot of people, they miss that. That's okay. They'll get it eventually. It's almost like they have this instinct, like not want to blame women. So, but I mean, it's they are who you have to blame. So I'm not, like, when I say feminism is at the core of it, I'm not even really talking about feminism as an ideology. I'm talking about women, because they mostly support it. It doesn't matter what their politics is. I mean, I sometimes question whether right-wing women even exist, except for like a handful of exceptions, like Allison and Karen and Hannah, for example. And the reason is because, obviously left-wing women will vote in their own self-interest to get free stuff, because that's the only thing that women have to offer, is essentially demanding free stuff. But plenty of women who think that they're conservative or on the right will do the same. Of course they will, because we haven't given them any incentive to not do that. We only incentivize their own selfishness. Anyway, have you guys seen? I have some spooky decorations back here. Let me put it up front. So you guys see my skull. There's some like spooky candles and a pumpkin. I'm in the spirit, y'all. I'm in the spirit of Halloween. And I think that if you can, you should be too, because Halloween is fun and it's great for kids. It's actually like, when I was a kid, I think Halloween was my favorite holiday, even more than Christmas. Even though, Christmas I was gonna get stuff, but Halloween was like a huge deal, right? Um. So anyway, guys, just thought I would tell you, it's the spoopy season. If you want to call in, go ahead and click on the link in the description. And Darth Sonic will set you up, and then we'll bring you in here. So check that link out. Okay. What else do I got? Here's another women posting their L's online, I think. And here's a chick in the gym, and she says, me paying $270 a month at Equinox to dress in cute workout clothes and walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes so I can find a gym boyfriend. I've been going here for 7 months and nothing. So, like, I mean, she's not ugly. So what does it mean? Well, it probably means that there are guys at the gym, and they're there to work out, and they're not there to pick up women. I mean, that's the only thing that makes the most sense. But like, if you went to a gym and you saw a girl and she was just there with like a camera or phone pointed at herself the whole time, I mean, is that really somebody you want to meet? I hope it's men waking up. I think so. Um, Here's another. This one is actually kind of interesting. I thought I would show it to y'all because this might make sense. Okay, so the army, we are literally recruiting e-girls to lure your sons into the military to die for US-led globalism. And I'm just gonna play this video.
Hey, don't fall for the psyop, brothers. What if it was the best blowjob you've ever had in your life?
What you're seeing is advanced warfare.
The U.S. government is engaged in a large number of secret medical experiments, developing techniques for mind control to create a so-called Manchurian candidate. What is the extent of these brainwashing experiments? How did the CIA become involved in such far-reaching and disturbing research?
So I think this actually makes a lot of sense. So how do you get men to join the military? Well, it used to be the case that you give them the vote. But now that doesn't seem to matter. And men, while they are signing up for selective service, they're not joining the military. So what's another way to get them to? I mean, this makes perfect sense to me. So you basically throw a cute e-girl on there. You know, maybe she's like actually in the military. I mean, that's what they're trying to sell us, at least, right? And then you have her act like she's gonna basically present you with what you might experience if you sign up. You're gonna meet a girl like this, and she's gonna be real cute, and you're gonna share food like your MRIs or whatever. But the truth is that most of these women are not gonna go into combat roles. And you're just getting used. And I think that this makes a lot of sense. Like, this is something that I could certainly see. And of course, yeah, it's like she's a modern version or postmodern version of a white feather girl. Basically works for the government, and her goal is to get men to sign up by using her feminine wiles. Anti-social contract says, wait, is this an unironic ad? Well, I mean, like, it's kind of like an ad with an ad on top. So, you know, the people who added the cyberpunk music and the you know, memes on top of this, they're basically trying to say, look, this is a psyop. Like, this is you know, this girl is here to make you want to join the military, and they're using a pretty face to do it. And I mean, that makes perfect sense. And on top of that, she's like you know, like an e-girl on in the and that's what she does. She makes these videos where she's being cute, and men are supposed to want to join the military because they want to meet her or someone like her. So it is, I think, a very clever thing, because I'm sure that there's plenty of men that'll fall for it. Plenty of men will fall for it. So just thought I would show you that. Psyops are real, folks. Be on the lookout. I don't think that, yeah, like some stuff that I was gonna bring up was removed. But all right, so I'm gonna ask now here that you guys call in. So please do the call in. Let us know, you know, what do you want to say? Come on and join the channel. I don't see anyone in here yet. I hope this isn't a super short show. I don't want that, but if you guys have anything that you want to say or a question or whatever, please call in. Check out the link in the description. So, oops.
I'm looking for a husband. Now,
Why the fuck?
Hear me out.
Pausing that. Sorry about that, guys. I do have an article, sort of an article. It's like a blog I could look at. It's called written by Incel. And it's entitled, Joe Biden would be a terrible president for incels. If what has been promised and proposed by Joe Biden comes into fruition, a Joe Biden presidency will be terrible for incels. I think that it's going to be terrible for everybody. But we could look at what his case is for how it will be terrible for incels. So that's an option. All right, so maybe we'll take a look at this, okay? So, if what has been promised and proposed by Joe Biden comes to fruition, Joe Biden presidency will be terrible for incels. By undoing the Title IX rule from the previous administration that ensured due process for the men that are accused of sexual harassment on college campuses, to forming a task force to, quote, end violence against women, end quote, this is quickly shaping up to be a bad time for most men. So that's a little bit more accurate. Yeah, this is going to be bad for, well, it is bad for men in general. The results from the presidential election show that Joe Biden is on track to be the next president. So this is kind of old. But for some reason, someone sent it to me. Maybe I'm supposed to see how accurate it is. I mean, it's kind of obvious. We're at the point now where this is like the situation we're in. The results from, Joe Biden is on track to be the next president. The results of this election have been contested, from accusations of election fraud to voting irregularities. Anything could happen. We will not be digging into that in this article. And then this guy goes into three things: the Title IX reversal, an incel task force, and the conclusion. I guess, like, it hasn't really happened yet. Like, the Title IX, yeah, of course, they reversed it and is bad. I don't think there's much to say about that, except we have to, like, vote these people out and make sure that whoever we vote to replace them, follows through, and we hold them accountable. It's really the only thing we can do in terms of democratically. But we also should protect men from this stuff, because the fact is that the average man, he doesn't think about this. He doesn't think about Title IX. He doesn't think about the Dear Colleague letter. He doesn't think about the Violence Against Women Act. He doesn't think about any of that, because he's fairly certain, although I think it's very naive, that it couldn't affect him, because he would never do anything to attract this kind of negative attention. The average man is fairly certain that he would never, violate a woman. He would never try anything like that, or coerce or whatever, and that they are in no way a danger to women. This is like what most men believe, but obviously they don't understand that that's not important. What you think you're going to do, or what you think you're capable of, or how much self-control you exercise. Not that men generally need to do that, but let's just assume for a moment, like, no matter how much of a strong will you believe you have, it doesn't matter, because if you get accused, you're screwed. And that means that you just need to, like, upset a woman that that you go to school with. And she might decide that she wants revenge. And you don't even know that this is happening. And then all of a sudden you're expelled. And, you've lost money and all of that investment. So I think the average man doesn't know about that. I mean, it's obvious to me they don't. Because, like, they're college guys. They're not thinking about that. But also, this is not, these issues, they're not something that exists in people's public consciousness. They're not. Oh, hold on a second. I gotta check something. Tagging me. A couple posts. Yeah, I'm sorry. Darth Sonic is not. Oh, I do have somebody call. So yeah, I think that this is the real challenge when you're like trying to get the word out to men. I think that one of the things that is both you could say it's a boon, but it's also a curse, is that a lot of men think that they have it under control themselves, like, and not just like, whether or not they would give in to their desires and do something dumb. That's not really likely to happen anyway, because I think that most men are aware, of that they want consent from women. But it's not just that. It's that they seem to be really naive on what women would be willing to do, if they wanted to. Like, and a lot of men they'll be blindsided by it. In terms of the incel task force, so I hadn't heard about this, but it says that one of the things that Biden is going to do, it says, as president, Joe Biden will convene a national task force with federal agencies, state leaders, advocates, law enforcement, and technology experts to study rampant online sexual harassment, stalking, and threats, including revenge porn, deepfakes, and the connection between this harassment, mass shooting, extremism, and violence against women. The task force will be charged with developing cutting-edge strategies and recommendations for how federal and state governments, social media companies, schools, and other public and private entities can tackle this unique challenge. The task force will consider platform accountability, transparent reporting requirements for incidents of harassment and response, and best practices. So, I don't know that this can all be acted on, but it sounds like something that women would be 100% on board with. And I think that one of the reasons for this is that women feel like victims online, even though in most cases they're being victimized by other women. But it doesn't really matter, because they are hearing that there's like essentially a task force that's being formed to protect women from online harassment. And so they're probably just going to get behind it. Even though, like I said, they're more likely to be harassed by other women than by men. And they're okay with removing or reducing everyone's liberty, and yes, even their privacy, if it means that women can feel safer. Not be safer, just feel safer. Darth Sonic says, our boy Jay Willie returns to us. He wants to talk to you about the idea of intersectional men's rights. What you got to say about that? Should I bring him in here, or I don't personally like the idea of intersectional rights, but does he want to come in here and make the case for it, or am I just responding to it as a question in the chat? He's currently getting it. All right, I'll wait a bit. Let me know when he's ready, and I'll drag him in. Yeah, I don't like the idea of intersectionality. I don't think it's a good idea when the left uses it, personally. But like they do, but yeah, I don't like that idea, because we have to build a hierarchy of need for what? Like men of different backgrounds? I'm not a fan. He's back, drag him on over. Hello, Jay Willie. welcome to the show. What's your take? Uh-oh, you're muted. Why? I don't have you muted. You might have to unmute yourself. I'm going to move you back. Okay? And I don't know why, but it's saying that you're muted and I can't unmute you. So I'm going to move you back for a second. You guys figure that out. Let me move him back in here. Yeah, he's still muted. That's so weird. I don't understand. I mean, I didn't mute the server. I didn't mute the guy. So why is he muted? Ah, there he is, I think. Hey, Willie, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Hey, Willie. All right. I'm sorry, dude. You know what? I'll talk about it, and you can stay here. I'll talk about your question. But like, yeah. So you said your question was, he wants to talk about the idea of intersectional men's rights. So I guess I would need to like know more about your specific brand, but let's just talk about it in the general sense. So would that be like a complete reversal of the intersectional feminist stack, or the intersectional progressive stack, where instead of like straight white cisgendered middle class American men being at the bottom of, or being at the top of the oppression hierarchy, it's flipped, and those men are the most oppressed, and then like we say take it a step back, so maybe like gay men who are white and straight, or not straight, but like white and male, etc. And then like the next step might be black men or minority men of some other type, Asian men, who knows. And then you go all the way up, and at the very top of the privilege hierarchy are disabled Muslim women, queer women of color or something, that are trans and overweight, and they would be the most privileged. Is that, I don't think that's what you're suggesting, but what are you? I guess you can't really tell me because you appear to be muted or something. Darth, you gotta make sure that these people's things work. I don't know why that would be the case. Or keybind, use the key you want to. But you don't have to do that. All right. In the meantime, I'm gonna look at the live chat. I think Jay Willie's trying to get this out. So let's see what you guys are saying. Night Motorcycling says, in this day and age, asking women out is dangerous, even if the man is attractive. The attractive man will just get accused later on in life. Well, you certainly could. And I think that it's definitely a good idea for men to know that. So, LOL, Jay Willie is definitely not defending intersectionality. It's anti-social contract. Well, that, you know what, I don't think he would, but that's why I had to ask for clarification. Maybe he's sort of like introducing a very new idea. Frankly, I'm not in any way interested in changing the minds of leftists or feminists.
I'm really sorry about that. I thought he was fine, and thus I took my headsets off to deal with a really important phone call, only to come back to a little bit of drama. So I'm sorry that I failed my
Did he
response.
leave? Looks like he left.
Yeah, he just did. Was he literally incapable of talking?
I couldn't hear him. No, I mean, like, I never...
No, he was trying to get the voice. No, he's back. He's back. I'm going to go jump on and see if I can get him to fix that. I'm
All
really
right.
sorry about that. I thought everything
That's
was
all
fine.
right. That's all right. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna try and bring him in just a second. What was I saying? Apple fires executive after he makes crude remark on TikTok. He in that crude remark he was saying he likes big-breasted women and was on his own time. I think I read about that. Yeah, I think we're gonna cover that on the news show. All right, I'm gonna try and bring him back on. Works. All right, Jay Willie, can you hear me? Yo. All right, I'm gonna put you back up there.
I don't think we did we? Jay Will, can you talk?
No, he can't talk.
Yeah.
All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go into the screening room and talk to him.
No, the problem is also there. The problem is also there.
Oh,
he just can't talk right now. We're trying to figure this out. Just give us a bit.
All right. Well, in the meantime, I know that I've taken calls before, so it shouldn't be this hard. But nonetheless, go to the link and you'll be able to call in. I promise. Just make sure that your shit is set up correctly. I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't have that problem in general. So Richard Bier says, have you heard about the Dearborn School Board meeting where the local Muslim community is outraged at the transgender ideologies being pushed and the prawn in school books? Yes, I did. And I don't know why it surprises anyone that Islam doesn't put up with that queer shit. So it's like you said it was, Dearborn, right? It's kind of a Muslim, it's a highly Muslim population area. And they're not happy. So I guess we have like common cause with with the Americans or the Christians or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, bring him on. He's good now.
All right.
I'm going to stick around to make sure he's good though.
All right. Hello, Jay Willie. You are.
Oh no.
He's muted this time, but like maybe he can unmute.
Can you unmute Jay Will? And just tell me in general.
Nope.
If you can't, then we'll do Brian's idea of going to screening room.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, go to screening room. Go to screening room.
I'm gonna go to the screening room for a second. All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly all the time. And I'm so sorry. I never used push to talk ever before. So
well, you don't have to.
I don't remember. No, apparently you do. Apparently the system forces you to go to push to talk for whatever reason. So it seems to be a problem on your end, Doge.
Well, I didn't set anything up to do that. Like I literally can just talk whenever I'm ready to talk. I don't have to push to talk.
I think it depends on your role. I think that might be.
Oh shit! Oh my god, I'm a dumbass. I'm a fucking dumbass. That's what happened. I completely forgot this. I am so sorry. Holy shit. Okay, you can both go to the show channel now. He has a caller role.
All right. So now he's got the right role. So I'm gonna
yes. I completely fucked up there. I'm so sorry.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna move Jay Willie into the show channel and see if it works. All right, Jay Willie, can you hear me?
It works good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
There you go. No, it's okay. So, oh my god, that was painful. So
it was.
What did you want to say about intersectional men's rights?
Right. Yeah. Here's basically what I have to say, and that is that when it comes to societal oppression, and we must. Due to the fact that that's like very apparently a thing, and misandric oppression is one of the most strongest societal oppression. And the best way we can notice that is to look at laws and statistics, and also the push against it. Because if you really are oppressed, you generally don't have mainstream media and governments admitting that you are oppressed and trying to fix it.
Yeah.
So and that's an example how men as a group are oppressed in most countries, because even countries that aren't straight out only oppressing of men are still sexist. So it's very impossible to find a country that have no anti-male gender-based oppression in it, right? So now we got that out of the way, and that is to say that because we have that type of oppression, it's always going to be, it's not always, but it have happened, and it does happen in many parts of the world in the past and present, that many of the anti-male oppression is also intersecting with other forms of oppression. And usually oppression many often doesn't really exist on groups. A lot of the time an oppression exists on a group, but it's much more severe for the male population of that group. And sometimes the oppression is sometimes only experienced by the male population of that group, or more severely in many cases, and I can prove that.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, like, what would be the advantage to what would be the advantage to using an intersectional model?
That is the intersectional model I have is it's actually more of an actual intersectional model rather than a faith-based claim as the feminists tend to do. Yeah. And then if you have two different groups of men who are oppositional, let's just say homosexual and heterosexual, right? Rather than to say that group is more oppressed than the other, I like to say that they both have different forms of oppression that relates to sexuality, and then add that to the anti-male oppression, and then you have an intersection, just like you have that when it comes to men of different races, for example. They could both be oppressed they are both for their sex, and then their race gives an extra layer of oppression on that is different. Like, they're both oppressed, but they're oppressed in different ways.
Yeah.
And so it's also important to know. Oh, go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, so it's not like the fourth wave intersectional feminist model where they're basically saying that there are some men, and it's always men, that face no oppression, like they're just privileged, and then there are others that face varying levels because they're gay or black or whatever. And this is more like all men face oppression of some kind, or problems, or systemic issues, but men of different races or sexualities, they experience different things that are unique to those things. So if you are a gay man, then you'll experience some things based on your sexuality, but if you're a straight man, you will also face different things based on your sexuality.
Exactly. Yeah. And a very important thing is that there is other forms of oppression that does not exist that might not even exist as men as a whole, or not even as gay people as a whole. But if you have a gay and male, you have a unique oppression that only exists for that group. That doesn't exist for either general group, and the same thing goes for straight men and also men of different races. And because of that, there are like only sometimes it's two oppression that becomes bigger, and sometimes there is an oppression that doesn't exist otherwise. Because when it comes to legislation in regards to how you breed, there's some things that, like, if you have countries in Europe, for example, or many countries where it's illegal for a man to artificially breed, like in countries like France, it's illegal for a woman to get a sperm donor and then that being paid by taxpayer dollars, but it's illegal for a man to do the same for a surrogate, right? Which is that's the original form of the anti-male sexist
Yeah.
oppression. And
Yeah.
then when it comes to homophobia, it basically adds that layer because straight men can still marry women, if that makes sense. And then you have an intersection, right? Another example would be the affirmative action in laws in the US, where they penalize the white people are like in the middle, and then the blacks get affirmative action, the Asians get discriminated even more than the white ones. So therefore you have the Asians, and then the men also get discriminated against on that basis. There's an intersection there that first oppressed the white men, and then Asian men more in that regard. In otherwise, men oppress more than Asians, of course. And then when it comes to Southeast Asian men, are even triple oppressed because East Asians generally outperform the other racial groups, but Southeast Asian does not. So therefore, Southeast Asians, they get treated as they were overperformers when they aren't. So they're discriminated for that, and then double because they aren't coping with that as well as the East Asians, and then triple because they're men. You get it?
Yeah.
And then you have an intersectional oppression that is factual, right?
Yeah.
And then to mention single motherhood is very bad for boys, and they can end up being killed or gang violence. And then you're more likely to being killed because of a criminal because you're a man. And then if you're black, that's higher. Right, so it's mainly because you're a man, but if you're black, it's get a little bit worse, you know. And the same thing goes for sentencing.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Not to mention.
Oh, go ahead.
That when it comes to laws, discriminatory laws in general, when it comes to race, besides the affirmative action laws, it's almost overwhelmingly anti-white, but also anti-male. So therefore, that gets another form of intersectional oppression. So different races experience it, but in different aspects.
Yeah.
And I have even more egregious example, but I think you want to say something first.
No. It's okay. Go ahead and give me your more egregious example.
Well, one example is when it comes to South Africa, when the government have like oppression of discriminating against everyone who's not black, all the minorities, right? So when it comes to affirmative action,
they didn't just target like the white South Africans. They went after the
Indians and the coloreds, which are just South Africa for mixed race people, but they target the white people a little bit more. But because the white people, compared to the coloreds or Indians, tend to have more wealth, they tend to cope with it better, if that makes sense. But they're still oppressed more legally, right? It's still weird. But then the men of all those races get double that. So it's a double anti-male oppression. And another egregious example is in countries like Switzerland, where they have forced military service, right? But if you're too tall, then they don't want you. If you're disabled, then they don't want you. So therefore, you get to pay an extra tax if the military don't want you. So if you're too tall or disabled, which often leads to your life is shorter on average, and your male leads your life is shorter, you need to pay an extra tax because you're a tall or disabled man. Even though your life is more likely to be shorter, you also need to work for free more than any other person in that country. So that's another form of intersectional oppression. It's actually quite egregious.
Yeah.
And not to mention historical ones, when you have places like in Turkish Republic where they had forced conscription of men, only men, but then they have circumcision checks. So if the men were Armenian, they were mutilate them when they find out that. Another example would be during apartheid South Africa, was then they have they wanted to treat homosexuality because they were very homophobic. So they had forced experimentation and sometimes even forced sex change only on men that they were considered to be gay in the military. They didn't go on for long, only shortly. But they would force conscription, and then they would test that, and then they would force those experiments on them. And then another example, which is also very egregious, another historical example, it would be in the US during slavery, where they consider the means unity to be with the mother and the kids, and that they can just separate the men slaves from the family, the family who were living in slavery. So these are three historical examples of extreme forms of anti-male intersectional oppression. Another example of very, very violent form of current day and intersectional anti-male oppressions, which is actually quite grossed out if you think about it. And I think that if you are going to advocate for the right of men, these intersectional cards, historically and currently, are actually extremely powerful. And the only reason why so therefore I think that why not play it? Because it's like a winning deck, if that makes sense. Like even saying this out loud, it's like just look at this, the history, and also the current state of these countries' laws. It is egregious. Mm-hmm. Like any human with empathy cannot accept this.
Yeah, if they have empathy for men, that is. But I will say that in a way, we've been talking about this stuff in that kind of context for a while, because we have brought up, like, essentially as a counter argument to most of the arguments that come from, like, feminists and intersectionals and SJWs, whatever you want to call it. And I've always pointed out that most of what people consider to be discrimination or even oppression or targeting of groups of people, most of the time when those things happen, it's because they're men, not because of something else. And no one wants to admit that, but I think that them being men is the primary reason. Like that, all the other statistics that are used exist because, and the reason for this is because the intersectionals don't acknowledge men as a group, as a demographic. Like they exclude them. So if black men are more likely to be killed in violent crimes, if black men are more likely to commit violent crimes, if black men are more likely to get arrested and all these other things, it's not because they're black, it's because they're male. Because this is all stuff that affects men of all races. It may affect black men more, but it's not some kind of biologically determinist thing. It's basically because they have no fathers. And like if you
but that's something that came about because of history.
Yeah, it came about because of history, and it was a system, and you could even call it systemic, because they offered black women money to exclude black men from the home, and women went along with it. And so that's like a literal systemic issue. Yeah,
that's an intersection oppression against men, black men in particular, I would say.
Yeah, that's unique to. It's not really unique. Like Latino men or Latino community or population and the white population are also going through this, but it's affecting the blacks the most because that's kind of where it started. And so then again, this means that yes, you could literally look at the welfare state and it could be an example of systemic discrimination against men, or that it exists to kind of destroy the relationship between a father and his family. And that is, without question. And the thing is, the women, they're choosing to do this. So they're not like, some people will say that, oh, women are oppressed by this because now they don't have a man around. But I can't, you can't call it oppression if they're doing it themselves. Like, this is what they're voting for. This is what they want. So like, they're choosing this. So in that regard though, I think that is something worth talking about, and I think I would like to give it some more thought. So, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I would also like to add that that when it comes to the like a law or a foreign policy that is impacting men or a particular demographic of men more severely than anyone else, it doesn't have to be specifically written in the law that they're discriminated against, but the result could be that way, and that will still be like a form of intersectional disadvantage.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. All right.
But I would also like to know if the other forms of intersectional oppression I mentioned, besides that one, besides the black one, all the other races and the other countries and the other aspects, and also historically and currently, I wanted to know if you were aware of those things being part of history, like if you're aware of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to be able to say I am. I don't know.
It's difficult to be aware of everything because like it's so many details and
Yeah.
almost nobody knows about them.
Yeah. There is a lot to unpack. I guess that's why I prefer a simpler approach of like, this is unjust and we should, fix it. But I do end up thinking about it in those terms sometimes because I feel like we're being lied to about intersectionality, because we are, and that it's actually probably like, if there is something, it's probably nothing like what we've been told. And
of course,
that obviously it is. And if anything, our gynocentrism puts women at the top of that, right? Like at the top of our priorities, at the top of our sympathy, at the top of our concern for their well-being. Like it's easily on top of all of that. So the fact that we're fed this line, and this is how on top it is. It's so on top, it's so ubiquitous that if you mention that women are privileged by this, people will not be able to compute that. They're going to, like, it's almost like it's on top of the outside of the meta conversation around the desire to protect women. So it's so ever present that if you bring it up, people just don't understand it. Like they're just like,
This is why I think it's so important to focus on that. This is misandry intersecting with other forms of oppressions that causes, and the intersectional oppression that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the example I gave about South Africa, Switzerland, and the US, is that I can literally point specifically to the actual policies that are there and see, look, it's like very obvious, and it is wrong. My point is that I am correct when I say it's an intersectional oppression there. Then I'm like objectively correct, because I can prove that when they say that when our opponents say the thing about what they say about intersectional oppression, then what they're saying is false, right? So therefore, the reason why I'm not like them is because what they're saying is incorrect, and what I'm saying is objective. Like it's kind of clear why I am not anyway like them. So therefore, I want to reclaim a term of intersectional from the people who don't actually know what they're talking about, because I do and they don't.
Yeah. All right. Well, that all sounds great. I'm going to move you back, though, because I got to take the next caller. So thank you, Jay Willie, for sharing those ideas and thoughts. And have a good day.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so let me see. I think Mr. Blur wants to call. I mean, I don't see him putting anything in the chat, so maybe he doesn't. If no one's available, I'll be your screener, but if anyone says they can do it, I'll be sitting this way. Are you distracted? I mean, we're not going to go for too much longer, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So Mr. Blur, are you calling to say something, or are you just kind of hanging out in the screening room? I mean, it's okay if that's what you're... Our boy Mr. Blur, oh, I found it. Never mind, I was looking in the wrong chat. Wants to discuss something that's been bothering him. Why are some anti-establishment personalities allowed to become minor e-celebs on social media, while others, like say HBR, get shadow banned into oblivion?
Okay, Brian,
I go
the
ahead.
link you have for the Discord server in the description, it goes to the main HBR server. It doesn't go here. In fact, I just checked
What?
the link, and it's apparently just gives basic bitch.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. I'll change the link. I am sorry about that. Man, we're all having a bad day. So where's the? Oh yeah, invite people. Yeah, I think I did do that. I apologize. How did Mr. Blur get in here? Well, I guess he had access before.
Yeah, he already had access.
So, all right, let me change this. I am sorry, y'all. I'm a loser. And go. Now you should be able to call in. Refresh the video so that you can get the up-to-date link, and you should be able to call in. All right, what were you gonna say, Darth?
Yeah, the reason why I knew about this is apparently I got poked by somebody in the main server that wants to call in, and he's wondering how to get in. So okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
hopefully
yeah, it should be good. It should be good now. Tell that guy to go refresh the video and click that link.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
It looks like Mr. Blur has undeafened, so just drag him in. I'll talk to you later.
I'm gonna drag him in. Yep. Okay, sir. Welcome to the show. What's your take?
Jesus. I literally just unmuted.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. I jumped on it. So, all right. What did you want to tell us?
Okay, so it's, I guess not so much a take. It's like more of just thinking.
Yeah.
Because it's
like a rhetorical question.
Yeah, it's been something that's been bugging me. Because HBR's been around for a while. And yeah, it's kind of stagnated.
What do you mean What do you mean stagnated?
In terms, I mean, getting eyes on the content.
Oh yeah.
Really hasn't had any significant growth. Not for a while. Then I'd compare that to some personalities like at Real Femme Sapien or just Pearly Things, who just kind of showed up and then blew up. And they blew up pretty quickly. And I'm just thinking about it and just like, okay, what are they doing that we're not? Because it can't just be that they're moderately attractive women that say correct things, because that description applies to a lot of people.
Yeah, but I think that's part of it.
I think there's something else going on.
I don't watch Femme Sapien or just Pearly Things, or who's the other one that you mentioned? Melanie Mac and like that. I don't really watch their content.
Oh, so Mac's another one that just started showing up in my feed randomly, and I was like, who the fuck is this bitch?
The comment section with Brett Cooper. Like, I think that there's I don't know for sure, so take this with a grain of salt, but we have been doing this for very close to 10 years. Like, it's at 9 and change, okay? And we've basically stayed in the same place in terms of the size of our channel. I mean, obviously when we started the Bachelor live streams, it was a very small channel because the main channel was Honey Badger Radio. But then because we were regular and consistent with putting out videos and live streams, we got up to like close to 10,000, and then it just stopped, right? 10,000, and that's it, right? And I do think there's something to it, because I think that YouTube, to some degree, can't censor everyone. So what they do is, if there are people who are saying things that, while YouTube might disagree with them politically, like these kind of young, attractive female conservative YouTubers that are basically saying common sense things. So that means they're not like digging that deep. They're just saying, you know, well, yeah, what is a woman? Ha ha ha. Obviously it's a female, right? Or they're basically just doing, they're kind of normie takes, the ones that I've seen. I don't want to, you know, put words in anyone's mouth, but I don't think they're delving that deep. And
no, that's actually the same observation that I made listening to Pearl. It's like most of it's pretty surface level, and Real Fem Sapien is actually just a tradcon, and that has all of the implications that you think it does.
Of course, yeah. And so it's the thing is that those takes are safe because, like, the assumed dichotomy is that there's just tradcons and then there's feminists. And so you're going to be one or the other, but that's not really, like, that's not the real truth of it, right? And I think that, like, while some content creators are going to talk about these normie positions, like, you know, about like pushing for a family and kids, and, you know, men are men, women are women, like those kinds of things, like, oh, feminists, they, you know, they're so mad all the time, you know, because they got pink hair and they're overweight and they think that body positivity and queerness and all these other things are like, you know, like they define them, and then like the feminists are doing that crazy shit. But meanwhile, I'm asking questions. I mean, like, I'm not just speaking for myself here, but like what I want to talk about are things like, well, apparently everybody's really upset that girls are transitioning at a very young age to become boys, and they're cutting their tits off, and they're, you know, engaging in like really self-harming behavior because they want to live in this other body. But men have been doing this for decades, and no one has ever said, well, what's going on with the men? We should probably step in. We should probably find out why this is happening. Nobody cared. And so now it's happening to women, and everyone's, you know, up in arms. And I'm pointing out, well, if you were paying attention to men when this was happening to them, and they were the majority of people transitioning at a very young age, if you were paying attention to that, you could have probably prevented this from happening to women. But because your gynocentric like lens doesn't let you look at what's going on with men, you have allowed this to happen. And I think, and this is something that none of those women would bring up, not that I know of, or let's just say maybe not. I don't even need to make it exclusively women, but I think it seems like it's mostly women. Like, it's mostly young 20-something girls with normie, common sense, conservative takes that are responding to things happening in the world that a lot of much more intelligent and deeper thinking people have already responded to in almost the same way. And that's not what we do. I mean, like, I'll tell you, like, what, you know, I'll mention the things that are wrong with whatever the left is pushing that week, but I'll try to go deeper into why. And so, like, you know, with I'll try to. I'll explore it. You know, I think that a lot of this stuff has to do with like severe character flaws and a non-existent relationship with their father or their parents in general or something. And it results in narcissism and nihilism. And those are the things that are the real problem. It's not even wokeness. Like, wokeness is just a vehicle for them to feel validated, but like, it's not the problem. And so I try to address that. I try to bring that up. I try to point to these human failings. And I think that it means that maybe we just don't get the acknowledgement. We don't get noticed. I mean, my suspicion is that if we were delivering like basic takes, we probably would be much bigger. I mean, like, we probably would have been, you know, approached by Jeremy Boring right now by this time, and he would have like offered us like a job with the Daily Wire or something. But we're not interested in those, because it doesn't add much. Like if you just say, yeah, this is what wokies do, and I'm not saying that there aren't people at the Daily Wire that do go deeper, because there are some at least, but like it's I'm trying to make sure that people are always reminded that men exist, and anything that is now happening to women that you're really worried about probably already happened to men and you didn't say anything. And so what I think is I'm with you in that it's very shady. It's very like
it comes across like controlled opposition almost.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing. Like I think that YouTube can't ban or censor everyone. So what they do is I think that they pick and choose who gets to grow, and they go with these like very not challenging YouTubers that are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight against the, I'm gonna criticize and react to the SJWs, and they do it like fine, but they obviously haven't been doing this for as long as we have. So when I see the same shit from the SJWs, I know that this is like, it's not just politics. Like it's actually, I mean, they say that it is, but it's clearly something much deeper and more personal. And not that I have sympathy for any of that, but it's helpful to understand that. And I think that what YouTube does is it essentially like creates a false dichotomy of the conversation or the debate going on between the left and the right, or if you want to call it something else, you could call it the feminists and the normies, or the feminists and the conservatives, or whatever. And I think that because they get to, it's essentially like they set the chessboard, and those are the pieces that are allowed to play. And anyone else who has something to say that could be like profound or kind of like throw all that to the wind or whatever, they don't get elevated. So I think that it's basically just that. Like the best way for us to reach people seems to be that people have to share our content. Although I will say this. Allison, although she hasn't made a video there in a while, she has noticed a lot of growth on the main channel from women since she started talking about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff. And that's promising. Like the main channel has grown. And we even had one video that did like over 1 million views, which nothing that we've ever made has gotten that much traffic. So maybe we slipped by the algorithm. Maybe it's just a fluke. But it does tell us though that the potential for us to do that is there because it happened. So I'm guessing that we're just on like the bad list for whatever.
Yeah, one thing that may be actionable on our part would be, perhaps taking clips from the longer streams and uploading them as separate videos.
Yeah, I've been asking Allison, because I don't really have the time, but I've been asking her if there's anyone that would be willing to go through our streams and find like a good section and put it up as a video.
Because so Allison, because once Allison gets on gets a rhythm going, it's like she can spit out a pretty good logic train.
Yeah.
Even through the her seeing red, and like those would make good segments, and it would even help appeal to the fucking millennials and Gen Zs who have the attention span of a goldfish.
That's true. That's true. I think sometimes like the absolute like rage, I think sometimes that can turn people off. If it's like, it depends on the content, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Allison blowing her top every so often, as long as it's not like so emotional as to make people feel uncomfortable, I think that it could work. Because sometimes, you know, she will like burst into tears and stuff, and I wouldn't put those clips up. But yeah, I mean, if she's just ranting at some evil woman, that definitely should be a clip. And if there are any others, because I know that, you know, Hannah goes on tirades, and I've gone on a couple, and Karen, although she doesn't really come on that much these days, she has, you know, had her rants as well. And I believe that those would be good. Yes. What I need though is a volunteer that can go through our content and give us a time code, and then I can like just give us the time code, like the section. You know, if it's like between 5 and 10 minutes, it doesn't even have to be that long, right? And then I can like cut it out and upload it as its own thing, and I think that that would do pretty well. So if you or someone you know wants to help us out with that, send an email to, well, you'll go to, what is our email address? Man, we have like 5 different email addresses. So just leave a comment under this stream when it's over. So, all right. Mr. Blur, do you have anything else you wanted to say?
No. Another thing I'm thinking about is like how many. I mean, I won't turn my nose up at people who say correct things, but it's like how many people do we need to say correct things before we start seeing like a return to like reality? Like the point of saying correct things is to drag people back to reality, but it's like a lot of people, and something that I'm still coming to terms with, don't want to live in reality.
Yeah.
They adamantly just don't want to live in reality. They'd rather believe a lie, even if that lie is if that lie makes them miserable. Mm-hmm. If only to not have to face the accountability of the things that they've done.
That's right. That's right. That's what it is. It's people avoiding the possibility that they were wrong, and they acted on being wrong, and it's harmed people, and it's harmed themselves, and like it's the hardest thing for people to admit. It is like, this is the core issue. This is why these people will not listen to you if you have a counter argument. This is why they will censor you, because if they're wrong, it shatters everything. And they probably are wrong because they and they acted on it, like, you know. So imagine if you were, I hate to do this. I hate invoking the Nazis. It's so boring. But imagine if you were a hardcore, dyed-in-the-wool Nazi supporter, right? And you were certain, 100% certain, because they told you that like all of this was going to be great, and that you were on the right side of history, and that anyone who believed as you did was, you know, like absolutely like heroic, right? Everything, all of that. And then you come to the realization that it was really, really wrong. Like people, I bet people were like driving themselves insane to avoid facing the reality of what they had supported, because they were wrong and they didn't have the humility to admit it. And so like they were willing to do anything to avoid that. And that includes reshaping reality. It was like, oh no, they didn't, they didn't do that. Like, you know, that, I mean, I think that's what it is. Like, it's that hard. And yeah, I'm using an extreme example, but like you could apply that to people who supported Joe Biden, like just that, like people who voted for him because they were sure of how awful Trump was, and now we're facing nuclear war. and like inflation and all these other problems. And it's because people voted for people who were going to do that. Like if Hillary had won in 2016, we'd have been well on our way, you know, on that shit too. And so, and why does that happen? Because people's pride is the ultimate obstacle, and their lack of humility is what enables that. And they don't have the ability to say, I was wrong. Like when's the last time you heard anyone say that? Like, you know, so
yeah, and now people let themselves get baited into voting a certain way, and now we have our geriatric carnival penis for a president, and but to even use a less controversial example, it would be like just something as innocuous as toxic masculinity or even the wage gap. These are things like the wage gap is even a better example because it's been proven wrong by multiple different sources on multiple different occasions for well over half a century at this point, and it still has not gone away completely. We still get people who repeat this talking point no matter how many times it goes over and over. So it's like at this point it's just dogma.
Yeah,
like, it's
only religion.
Dogma.
It's religion because it is, though. I mean, it's religion, and they're not going to stop. Like they have to commit. Like they have to, because the alternative is, again, shattering their ego. And the thing about these people, by the way, is that they're so narcissistic but simultaneously insecure that the idea that they could be wrong is absolutely earth-shatteringly terrifying. And so they have to keep pushing it. And they believe that if they push it hard enough and they get enough people to agree with them, that they will literally alter reality and make it what they think it should be. And that's why they push for that stuff. All right, I'm going to end the show, so I'm going to move you back. Did you want to say one more thing?
Sorry, my stepdad yelling at me about dinner. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say something else.
Was it about what I said, or something different?
Shit. Nah, train of thought's gone. Never mind.
That's okay. When if you remember, you know, just save it for next time, I guess. All right. So, Mr. Blur, thank you for coming on the show, and I'm gonna move you back into the screening room. Okay.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Okay, everyone. Sorry that the show didn't get a lot of calls this time. We were running into some serious technical problems, but maybe next time you can call us and we'll have it all working. I'm sorry about that. So I got a super chat from Darth Sonic 413. He gives us $5 and says, "Are you aware that your stream on Twitch is listed as an Elden Ring stream? No more brutal boss fight than gynocentrism." I don't know why that is. I guess like I thought that when I was in Restream.io, I was changing the titles of the shows and it would just change it. I don't know. Oh, I know. I understand. All right. So like on Twitch, you can like pick a specific subcategory. And I guess the last time I even bothered with that, it was an Elden Ring stream, but that was a while ago. All right. So thank you, Darth Sonic, for that. And thank you guys for coming on today's show. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications so you can see when our streams go live. And if you can, please consider sharing this video, because sharing is caring. I do have some super chows as well, so I'm going to go ahead and read those. Meredith G gives us $5 and says, "Honey for the Badgers, I'm able to watch HBR Talk 234 live. Men opting out of participation is showing up in the workplace now." Thank you for that. And when we got 2 super chows from anonymous users, and one gives us $5 and says, I can't believe Mike Rowe is being so aggressive. Bad pun, insert Titus laugh. But seriously, I'm glad you're calling out the cancer that is in our schools. Also, did you hear about an American Muslim community protesting LGBT lessons and are getting more done than any Christian group? It happened very recently. Yes, I did, and I already mentioned it on the show. The thing about, I guess, Christians is they're too nice. And I believe that the Christian church has been like absolutely corrupted in almost every aspect by wokies. So Christians are being needlessly tolerant of stuff, whereas Islam, they must have like they must not play. I mean, that's all I can say. So. And the other super chat that is also anonymous gives us $10 and says the military is trying to get low IQ men to enlist by using e-thots. It's McNamara's Morons 2.0. Yes. And this is the reason why we have to convince men one way or another, look out for them and tell them, look, stop thinking with your dick. Stop thinking with your dick. These women can wait. You need to focus on you. And like, I think that if a man does that and he has like a pretty decent network of men, he's not going to fall for this shit. And a lot of it is out there just to manipulate. So yes, I agree 100%. Stop thinking with your penis, guys. Okay. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Badger Lodge. And tell me what you think about my little spooky designs over here. And I will talk to you all in the next video. Good night, everybody.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.